I love that phrase. Why does it look like this? This is not what I expected. And that's the key point of a pre-meeting.
Right.
Welcome back to the podcast. This is Jef Forward, and today we are talking about the 8 essential meetings for a successful project. And I know remodeling can be a lot, and it can be overwhelming. It can make you feel all sorts of different ways, but there's some best practices that you can apply to make a remodel really successful and fun and have remodeling be exciting. And one of those things are pre-meetings. So today we're going to jump into that. And with me is Tim Frincke, one of our project managers who's been with us for 12 years now and has a much longer experience with construction as well. So Tim, welcome to the podcast. And let's start off. Tell me a little bit about your background.
My background. So I kind of got into construction out of necessity. Wasn't something that I ever did as a teenager growing up, or, my father, relatives weren't into it. Prior to getting married, I was looking for kind of a direction for a career, and an opportunity opened up to start in construction, and it was pretty much entry level for me. So I started work for a remodeler. It really opened my eyes to many different aspects of the construction industry.
Okay. And you obviously stuck with remodeling. What was it about remodeling that resonated with you?
I think having the entire scope of the project in front of you. We would go in, we would do start to finish.
Okay.
We would do the work. Obviously, not every aspect of it. There was subcontractors involved, but being able to see from start to finish, see the space, tear the space down or add on to it, whatever it was, to make it another improved, a better space for the customer.
Okay.
Being able, just the challenges of working with existing conditions, working with old houses, new homes, trying to match finishes, match trim, other things like that,
right,
to what's there, so it doesn't look like it's like something's happened. It's trying to make it all be cohesive. So that really appealed to me. That was something that really appealed to me, being able to do different things every time.
Right. It's always different.
Right.
Okay.
As opposed to a production mindset where, all you're doing is framing houses all the time. You frame 100 houses or whatever, framing just trim work, just tile work, all that,
Okay.
I could see that being monotonous if that's all you did every day.
Right.
It's the same thing.
So you really enjoy the variety.
Right.
And kind of seeing the whole process come together.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's cool.
Yeah. So what about you? What got you into remodeling? What made you go that direction?
When I was in architecture college, I didn't expect to wind up in remodeling, but once I was working in several architecture firms, which I found the work very rewarding, but it didn't have the personal connection. And when I discovered the design build model of business, that really resonated with me, because I got to work with homeowners and really help them figure out how to live better in their home. And just the emotional reward that I got out of seeing them go through the process and then get the results, that was a game changer for me. So I never looked back. And I'm so happy to be in the remodeling business. It's really a lot of fun. Okay, so let's do a quick sneak peek about what we're going to talk about. So number one, why are pre-meetings so important? Number two, what are the 8 essential meetings for a successful remodel? And then number three, what happens when we don't do that, or when a client wants to opt out of a pre-meeting? So we'll jump into that. So for you, why do you feel pre-meetings are so important?
I think it really, as far as the production phase of things, as a design build firm, they've done all this work in design,
right?
And now we come to the production phase of it. So they've made selections, the plans are all set,
right?
But the pre-meetings really help to reinforce decisions they've already made, help them to feel comfortable that they've made the right decision. It also helps when maybe they get in the space and they realize maybe they want to go a different direction, a pre-meeting can help either help them work that out, flush that out in advance.
Right.
As opposed to later on, I really wish I had done it differently.
Okay.
Where if we have the meetings in advance, they can make those changes and it goes against.
Before we actually do the work.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So it helps to the costs of change orders, and especially change orders after the fact of things.
Right.
The pre-meetings help with that. I think they really help the customer to have confidence and clarity as to what's happening, the next step, what they're going to
Right.
see. It's very easy to see these things on paper, see samples, and even sometimes we have 3D walkthroughs where you can walk through your new space.
Mm-hmm.
Those are very helpful for visualizing things, but when you're actually in it, and you're working with the space, with the walls, everything's built, or we're going on to the next step.
Okay.
For them to be able to really solidify in their minds what it's going to look like in the end.
Okay. So it's a confidence builder, but it's kind of like a playbook before the game starts.
Right.
And really helps set the tone for the fit and finish.
Right. Exactly.
Okay.
I feel like they also feel empowered. They're not overwhelmed by the task in front of them because there's communication happening. They
Right.
know, they feel like they're a part of it. Right. Which obviously they are. This is their space, but they feel empowered that and confident that what's going to happen next is really what they wanted and what they visualized.
It kind of takes out the oops factor of I didn't think it was going to look like that.
Right.
Okay. So the 8 meetings, I know it might seem tedious to walk through all of these meetings, but we really find that they're really critical, essential for our going through our process, setting expectations, that they're foundational. So we're going to run through them. Let's just have a loose conversation about it. It's very nerdy. It's very nerdy, but let's do it. The pre-construction. Tell me about that.
So the pre-construction meeting is essentially our introduction, the production side, our introduction to the client, to the homeowner. They've built some relationships, in the office, working in their home. They've designed their space, made the selections. This is kind of a kickoff for the production side of things. So
Okay.
All the work they've done up to this point, it's going to kind of drastically change from this point forward. We're actually going to get in and start building their new space out. So it's an opportunity for us to get to know them, to find out their daily life, names of their pets, their children.
Okay.
Are there concerns with those? Do they have a dog that can't go out, or a cat that doesn't need to be in this space? Do they have little children that we need to be mindful of for our space and our protection to make sure that they can't get in the workspace?
Okay.
Those sort of things. We review like day-to-day things. Where's the porta potty and the dumpster going to go? What should they expect each day? What time are people showing up and leaving? And just kind of a what to expect on the site.
Right. So you've got a format that you're following, and it's an opportunity for them to ask lots of questions. And tell me about their personal items and like the dust protection, which you mentioned.
Yeah. So oftentimes we'll review with them. We build dust walls. In many cases, obviously it depends on
not just plastic walls.
Not just plastic walls. So
okay.
They're actually built out of 2x4s screwed together with cladding on them and an exterior door.
Okay.
With a handle. It can be locked. It can be sealed up.
So it's also a visual barrier. So like it really conceals the work that's happening and allows people to be a little more comfortable in their living space.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
So oftentimes people are expecting just a sheet of plastic that,
right.
We're going to be right next to them while they're trying to get ready for the day, that sort of thing. But, by mapping it out, kind of showing them exactly where we're planning to put them, where we need the space, the workspace to be, it's helpful for them to see. They're still usually surprised when they see our dust walls and they see what we put up. Right. And it does help them be more comfortable in their own space. Okay. Despite having a massive project going on in the house, possibly. Yeah.
And that's an interesting point, because even though we educate people, we show people the dust wall, when they actually see it in place, it's always a surprise. And that's kind of the theme of a whole remodeling project. You've done all this planning, and then when you see it, it's like, oh, that's what it looks like. And I think that's really the core of the pre-meetings. So next one, the pre-mechanical meeting, one of my favorites. Tell me about that.
Yeah, I'd say this is probably one of the more important ones. This is a meeting where we actually, after the framing is complete, prior to any mechanicals, but prior to electricians, plumbers, HVAC contractors coming in,
Okay.
we look at the roughed in space. What we'll do is we'll put down an outline of cabinets and countertops on the floor. So it gives them a little bit more of a visual of how, whether it's a kitchen or bathroom or whatever it is, they can see where these workspaces are going to be. And then we take every electrical fixture, switches, and place them where they're supposed to be on the walls.
Okay. How are we doing that?
So we use white index cards.
Okay.
And we'll note this is a recessed light or this is a pendant light. We put it up on the ceiling exactly where it has to go.
Okay.
Oftentimes we put it on the floor as well, just so they can walk through and see how the light's going to affect their walkways, work areas, things like that. I think this meeting is very beneficial for them to really see, it's easy to see on a plan, okay, I got all these lights here.
Right.
But to be in the space and see,
So, and this is all based on a full electrical plan that's already been developed.
Right.
And this is kind of like the last step of finalizing before it gets installed.
Right, exactly.
Let's move on to the next, which is pre-trim. Tell me about that.
Yeah, so our pre-trim meeting is basically showing them how moldings come together. Oftentimes it's an opportunity for them to see selections that they've made, if it's new doors, trim. We also talk about cabinetry during this meeting, how different elements of the cabinetry goes together. Oftentimes we're just matching existing trim, so it's easier to visualize, but there's always little details that we need to walk through with them. Once again, on paper, you see things, but to be able to see exactly how, this crown molding is gonna tie together, how this panel is gonna work, is helpful for them. So
another one that I particularly like is the pre-tile. I think tile is one of those crafts that, if done incorrectly or laid out incorrectly, for a seasoned professional, they can walk in and they can spot it like in a moment when there's an issue. But how do we handle that?
Yeah, so we get the materials on site. We have the tile, whether it's a shower or a floor or a backsplash, we have it on site. We can, they can actually see, touch, and feel the product that's going to be installed. And obviously, each space is a little different. Sometimes we're, tiles that are 24 inches aren't exactly 24 inches, so we have to lay it out and show them ideal layouts and patterns that to get the look that they want to achieve. And to have a professional finish. We don't want little slivers here or there if we can help it. We want to make things spaced out in a way that's aesthetically pleasing. We have the basic idea of, this is the pattern we're looking at. This is how it's going to finish out. This is the point in which it's going to stop. Those sort of things that help the customer to really visualize and, once again, feel a part of the process. They don't feel like, they just went and did what was easiest for them. They did what we really want
to get the right fit and finish.
Exactly.
So whether it's one of our team members doing the tile work or one of our trade partners doing the tile work, this kickoff meeting or the pre-tile meeting, that's where we're establishing, just to recap, all of our layouts to provide the optimum look of the finished pieces and how they're also meeting different materials and surfaces.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Especially with tile. If tile is difficult to tear out, we would rather not redo something if at all possible. So by having these meetings and hashing out these details, sometimes there's just preference things. Hey, would you prefer it to look this way or this way?
Right.
And sometimes people have very strong opinions. Sometimes they lean on the designer. Hey, what do you think looks best?
Right.
We'll go with that. So it's an opportunity for us to once again, empower them to make the decision, something that they would prefer or not, or defer to, what we think as
Okay.
industry professionals. Yeah.
Right. The next one, let's talk about pre-paint, a pre-paint meeting, because color is a big commitment. Tell me how we help clients get to that point.
Yeah, so the designers will come back out to the field, and oftentimes they've had these conversations in advance of kind of some tones that the client wants to go with.
Mm-hmm.
We'll bring out samples, usually full 8x10 card samples of kind of some suggestions of colors they might want to go with. Yeah, so this is a great opportunity for them to once again see in the space, with these cards. We put them up on the wall. Oftentimes, if they can't come to a decision, we'll get samples and we'll roll the actual physical paint on the wall so that the customer can see. It's an opportunity to see the colors against cabinetry that's already installed, and sometimes countertops are installed as well. Tile, other finishes are already in the space, so they can kind of see it with the space. So paint is a little easier to change. We can change wall colors, but once again, we'd rather have a confident.
You said it. A confident decision.
Right.
So, and it sounds like, okay, wow, you're getting a decision in one meeting, but that's not really the case, because with light changing in a house and having our clients or homeowners there seeing it in different times, we're often doing this weeks or weeks, depending on the size of the project, in advance, putting color swatches up, which is helping them build their confidence.
Right, exactly.
And then our designer is coming out, doing a full walkthrough and getting final decisions at this meeting.
Right.
Have you found, how many times do we actually come back and repaint a space?
In my experience, we have not done it too many times.
Okay. It has happened.
It has happened. Yeah,
Okay.
I can think of at least a few times where we've repainted. But for the most part,
with 12 years with us, that's a pretty good number to say only a couple.
Only I think 2 or 3 come to mind that we've had to do. So, and once again, yeah, it can happen, but at least the meeting prevents that happening multiple times, as opposed to a few in 12 years.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's jump into flooring. What does a pre-flooring look like? Because it sounds like it's just flooring. Mm-hmm. Like that's could be the general perception of people, but tell me a little bit more about why it's important.
Yeah. So oftentimes there's not a lot to talk about. I mean, if we're just doing carpeting or if we're doing hardwood floor, there's not much, we don't need to talk about those patterns. That's already been kind of chosen for the most part. Oftentimes this is like transition spaces. So between wood and tile, what's that going to look like? Okay. Sometimes this meeting, because if there's minimal flooring, we can have this with the pre-tile meeting where we can show them how maybe thresholds or a tile is going to meet up with wood floor. Okay. How it's going to transition to maybe carpeting or another surface. Okay. But just an opportunity for them to see, if there are a height difference, is there something that we need to do to adjust that to make it more of a seamless transition? Okay. So it's just an opportunity to see, what's the final product going to look like and how's it going to feel in their everyday use. Keep hitting that. Sorry.
Okay. So another element of the flooring is, especially working within existing conditions, we might have a floor that's out of level or some low spots in the floor. And I know we're going back and, getting and providing proper support and flooring where needed. But tell me how we handle that in terms of getting their approval and understanding that process.
In instances like that, where there's a subfloor issue or there's something going on with the floor, that's an opportunity to bring, usually we catch those type of things earlier in the process. So we're not just talking about it at the finish point. Right. But,
like in the pre-mechanical or in the rough-in stage, you're able to see that. What you're saying is we've typically already done that in rough framing and or poured any floor leveling condition at that stage as well.
I mean, if we're pouring something, usually it is at the flooring stage. Okay. But typically we at least address it in advance so we know Okay. So this,
So they're aware of it.
right. This,
Okay.
This, trying to, if we have a slab that we're putting wood floor down on, that it needs to be pretty straight, pretty flat. Usually those are things we've figured out and prior to even starting the project.
Right. And it's already built into
Right.
the budget.
Right.
Okay. So after flooring, then we're getting into the completion stages. And we've got the pre-completion, and then the last meeting is the final completion. So let's approach those as kind of one topic, and with that in mind, like walk me through that.
Yeah, so that pre-completion meeting is we're essentially done with the project. There may be a few, we're at the tail end of the project, getting ready to
Okay.
be totally done. We walk through with the homeowner and basically point out things that need to be completed. Prior to this, I don't know if you're going to talk about the blue tape meeting.
No, let's jump into that. Yeah.
So we have an internal meeting we call it the blue tape meeting, where the designers and others from our team come into the space, kind of go through it with a fine tooth comb. We add blue tape to things that we feel needs to be addressed. Whether oftentimes it's paint touch ups, or maybe there's something of concern, adjustment needs to be made in a door or something like that.
Okay.
So once we do that, the homeowner can now see, okay, we've got a list of things that we need to do here to be totally done.
Okay.
So we'll walk through with the homeowner. Oftentimes they pick out things, but that blue tape meeting kind of helps knock a few things off the, put things on the list that we put on ourselves. Oftentimes the homeowners don't even see some of the things that we put on blue tape on.
And what's our stance with clients having blue tape as well?
We want clients to be able to go in and...
We embrace it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I know that can be intimidating to some because
Right.
you're opening yourself up, but we want the project to be right. We want it to be done, them to be satisfied when we leave.
Right.
So,
And some clients want to do it. Some clients don't want to do it, and they just want it to be handed over at the end.
right.
So then when we get to that point, the celebration point, walk me through the final completion meeting.
Yeah. So the final completion meeting is basically the list of items that we had to do that are all done at this point. Any odd or end we've been waiting on, maybe a hardware part here and there, is all completed. We're basically ready to hand the keys off to the homeowner. Give them their space back, essentially.
The proverbial hand the keys over.
Right.
Okay.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right.
So oftentimes they've already been using the space. They're in it. It's mostly done, but everything is completely done. It's an opportunity. It's usually final payment. We many times take pictures of the space. Hey, this beautiful space we'd like to document for ourselves, and we're done.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. So those are the eight meetings, and we just find that when we do these meetings, it leads to a predictable result for us and the predictable fit and finishes. What happens when these meetings don't happen?
Well, we found that it results in disappointment. They feel like a mistake has been made. Why is that there? Why does it look like this?
Okay.
Which in turn,
I love that. I'm sorry. I love that phrase. Why does it look like this? This is not what I expected. And that's the key point of a pre-meeting.
Right.
So I'm sorry. How else do they feel?
Yeah.
Or
So
what do you see?
They may be surprised. They may, once again, be disappointed in what they ended up getting. Of course, that results in them maybe reluctantly accepting this project as complete. They might say, okay, well, and then that's not a satisfied customer in the end. In the end, the client's not really happy with their space.
Right.
Maybe they regret not having those meetings in the past, but for us, we want them to be happy in the end, right?
And let's be clear though, if we have that situation happen and we don't allow that reluctant acceptance, we'll go back and we'll fix it the way they expected it to look. And that aspect, there's not going to be an extra charge for that. It's because we didn't set the expectation. Now, that rarely happens, but we'll do it. We'll totally do it.
Right.
That's honestly one of the reasons why we started this pre-meeting process is it's all about setting expectations,
Right.
and then meeting them. I don't want people to think that this is all we do. These are the only meetings that happen.
These are not the only 8 meetings that you'll have. With
No?
us. No. Especially if think of a project that's 6 or 9 months.
Right.
We don't want to meet with them just 8 times.
Okay.
Our part of our process is also an ongoing client meeting where we meet on site. Depending on the customer, it's sometimes a weekly meeting. More often, it's more of a bi-weekly meeting
Okay.
where we get together just to touch base, in-person conversation where we can walk through the space, talk
Okay.
about what's going on, issues, concerns. It's a way to just connect with the customer. In addition to when we have contact with them regularly, we're oftentimes emailing them every week, we talk to them, but there's an opportunity for us to talk in person
Right.
about what's going on.
Engage how they're feeling.
Exactly. Yeah. So it keeps the communication high. We'd rather err on the side of too much communication than not enough communication. So
Right.
it's an opportunity to get together, review what's happening day to day. It's a little less as focused as these 8 meetings
Right.
because the task of what we're talking about may be completely different than
Right. Okay.
what these meetings are. But
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
It's an important point to bring up, and thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah.
If you are interested in remodeling your home and you want more than just a beautiful project, please give us a call, click on our website, and learn about how we provide a seamless process, a seamless journey to get your home to where you want it. And Tim, I just want to thank you for coming in. It's been a fun talk, and yeah.
Yeah, it was fun. Nice change of pace for my day. Appreciate
Good.
it. Yeah.
Good. All right. Thank you very much. We'll see you on the next one.